everyone! Welcome to the Jayda InStitches show. Whether you are hosting or attending a backyard wedding or a wedding at the beach, 'tis the season for such lovely boho events. And for your feet, I have the perfect little set of wedding barefoot sandals. We made a previous pair of barefoot sandals here on the channel. I'll link to that in the description box down below if you want to try one that's a little brighter, maybe what uses a couple of different colors. But today I went with that sweet, simple, antique boho white color, the kind of thing you might wear if you're the bride or just in attendance. These are quick to make, they're pretty, you can make them extra fancy, you can use a special ribbon and maybe add some beads to them if you want them to look a little fancier, or you can just be nice and plain. Either way, they're a pretty little bit of foot jewelry for, I don't know, the right little accent to your beachy dress. I don't recommend wearing fancy shoes in the backyard or the beach. Your feet sink into the sand, your heels disappear, they get all muddy. And they're just not that comfortable. Plus, you don't want sand in your shoes. So barefoot sandals is where it's at. You only need a little bit of mercerized cotton crochet thread, and you can use the larger crochet thread, the size 3, the size 5, or even the size 1. And if you don't have crochet thread, a nice cotton or wool sock weight yarn is a fun one to try. In fact, if you have any Summer Nights yarn by Lion Brand lying around, that's got a little bit of sparkle that runs through it. That would make a really pretty pair as well. Either way, it's a quick project, so let's jump right into it. We'll grab our hooks, we'll grab our crochet thread, we'll head on over to the craft table, and we will stitch up a sweet little pair of Beachy boho wedding barefoot sandals together. In order to make a pair of Beachy boho wedding sandals, you're going to want some 100% mercerized crochet cotton thread. This is a size 3, also known as a fashion weight. You want a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, and a 2.75 millimeter hook, also known as a C. This can also be a 3 millimeter. You only really need around 20 yards of thread, crochet thread, for the entire project, and that includes making the ties. So if you wanted to use ribbons instead, then you'd need a little bit less. But once you've got all that together, we can get started. We're going to take our crochet thread, make a slip knot, and we're going to chain 6. And with that chain of 6, we're going to join with a slip stitch to the first chain to make a ring. So we're going to build row 1 into this ring. I'm going to work over top of my short tail, but you can leave it out if you want and weave it in later. Chain 1, and into that circle you're going to work 12 single crochets. 12 single crochets into your chained ring. Once you've got 12 single crochets worked into that little chained ring, join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet you made, and that completes row 1. Now we want to turn this into a little flower. So we're going to make 6 petals, and the petals look like this. Right in the same place that we joined, we're going to chain 2. We're going to work 3 double crochets into the same place. Chain 2 and slip stitch all into the same place. So slip stitch to join, and then chain 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2, slip stitch all into the same place. Slip stitch into each of the next 2 stitches along what was row 1 and start again. Chain 2, 3 double crochet into the same place that you last slip stitched into. Chain 2 and slip stitch all into the same place. So slip stitch, chain 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2, slip stitch all in the same place. Slip stitch into the next 2 stitches and start again. So that second slip stitch lands you in the stitch that you want to make a petal in. Chain 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2 and slip stitch, and then repeat. Slip stitch into the next 2 stitches and start another petal. You're going to have 6 petals when you're done. I'll let you continue with that. I'll see you at the end of row 2. When you finish your last petal, slip stitch into the 2 remaining stitches, and that will put you right back where you started, right at the base of that first petal. Now we're not cutting our yarn, we're going to continue from here. We want to get up to the middle double crochet of what was that first petal we made. So we're actually going to slip stitch into each of the next 2 chains. So those chain 2 that began that first petal, you're going to slip stitch into each of them. So just grab the edge chain or the edge loop of it. Then you're going to slip stitch into the first double crochet you made and into the second double crochet you made. So you're basically slip stitching up the edge of that petal and into the middle double crochet. So you're right now in the middle top of that first petal that you made. Now we can start row 3. We're going to chain 7. We're going to slip stitch into the middle double crochet of the next petal, and then you're going to repeat. Chain 7, and slip stitch into the middle stitch of the next petal. So you're going to have 6 chain 7 loops all the way around. Chain 7, slip stitch into the middle stitch of the next petal. Chain 7, slip stitch into the middle stitch of the next petal, and so on. Nice and simple. I'll see you at the beginning of the row. As you get around to the end of row 3, you're going to chain your last 7 and you're going to join with a slip stitch right in the same place that you began that row. So technically the top middle stitch of that first petal. You've got 6 petals, you've got 6 chain 7 loops that connect them all. And now for row 4, we're going to make sort of some bigger chunks of double crochets basically all the way around. We just want to create like a nice wide bit of a foot cover. We're going to slip stitch into that first chain 7 loop to begin. We're going to chain 3. This chain 3 counts as a double crochet, and into this same loop we are going to work 4 more double crochets. So the chain 3 counts as a double crochet, 4 more double crochets into the same loop, and technically you have 5 double crochet now in that chain 7 loop. Chain 3, and into the next loop, 5 double crochet. Chain 3, go to the next chain 7 loop and work 5 double crochet. You're going to repeat this all the way around. So each of those chain 7 loops gets 5 double crochet, and before you leave, chain 3. 5 double crochet, chain 3. 5 double crochet, chain 3. I'll see you back at the beginning. As you near the end of row 4, you're going to chain your last 3, and you're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of that chain 3 that began the row. Remember, the first chain 3 actually counted as a double crochet stitch. So what you should have are 6 sets of 5 double crochet, all worked into those nice big chain 7 spaces, and between them 3 chains each. So you've got nice chain 3 spaces, 6 of them, and you've got 6 sets of 5 double crochets. Okay, that's the end of row 4. We have one more row to go, but it's a doozy, so we're going to do the whole row together. In this row, row 5, we turn it into a triangle. We are going to include the middle toe ring. We're going to include the 2 rings, or the 2 little loops that you run your ankle tie through, and we're going to add a little bit of decorative edging in between. So row 5 is one shot, and it's not difficult, but there's a lot going on. So we're going to do it together. Here we go. We're going to start row 5 by slip stitching backwards into that chain 3 space you just made. So basically you're just right below where you're joined, just slip stitch into that chain 3 space. We want to start in that space. And here we go. We're going to chain 4, and we're going to work a 5 double crochet stitch together. So we're going to double crochet these 5 stitches together. yarn over, pick up a loop in the top of that chain 3, that's where you joined the last row, yarn over and pull back through 2 loops. Yarn over, pick up a loop in the next stitch, that's the second double crochet, yarn over, pull back through 2 loops, and we're going to do that 3 more times. Yarn over, pick up a loop in the next double crochet, yarn over, pull back through 2, yarn over, pick up a loop in the next double crochet, yarn over, pull back through 2, yarn over, pick up a loop in the next double crochet, yarn over, pull back through 2. So you've got 6 loops on your hook, your working loop that sits at the top of that chain 4, plus you've got a loop for each of those half worked double crochet stitches, not 6 loops, yarn over, pull back through everything. This is the top of that double crochet 5 stitches together. So the whole thing becomes 1 stitch, that's the top of it there. We want to create the first loop for our ankle tie, so we're going to chain 4, and we're going to slip stitch back into the top of that stitch. But because that's all the way back here, I like to do this. Grab the front facing loop of that stitch and the loop that's created when you chain away from that last sort of motif, just slip stitch into it. That creates a chain 4. There's a space in there that's easy to open up once we're done. And that's the first little loop tie, or the little loop that our ankle tie is going to go into. So just to reiterate, we chained 4, double crocheted 5 stitches together, chained 4, and slip stitched on top. And that is almost the first full point of our triangulization for row 5. Once we're done with that first loop, we're going to chain 4. This will finish off that little triangular point. And we're going to slip stitch into the next chain 3 space. So that's one whole point now complete. Chain 4, double crochet 5 stitches together, chain 4 slip stitch, and chain 4 slip stitch into the next chain 3 space. All right, a little decorative edging now for the side of our triangle. We're going to chain 2, single crochet into the next double crochet, so that's the first stitch of that set of 5, chain 2, skip a stitch, single crochet into the next stitch, chain 2, skip a stitch, single crochet into the last of those double crochets, chain 2, and slip stitch now into that chain 3 space. So the side of our little triangle, after we've joined with a slip stitch in that chain 3 space, we chain 2, single crochet, chain 2, skip a stitch, single crochet, chain 2, skip a stitch, single crochet, chain 2, and then slip stitch into the next chain 3 space. So it's just like a little bit of kind of a pretty little decorative edging. And that's how we do the side of the triangle, and that will be the same for another 2 sides, but we've got to do another point in between. All right, after that little pretty side, we're going to do another point in our triangle, but now we're also going to incorporate the toe loop. So here we go. We're going to chain 4 right out of that chain 3 space, and we're going to work a 5 double crochets together stitch. So yarn over, pick up a loop in that first double crochet, yarn over, pull back through 2, yarn over, pick up a loop in the next stitch, yarn over, pull back through 2, yarn over, pick up a loop in the next stitch, yarn over, pull back through 2, and twice more. You're working half of a double crochet in each of those 5 stitches. That puts 6 stitches or 6 loops on your hook, your working loop, plus 1 loop for each of those 5 half-worked double crochets. Yarn over, pull back through everything. It makes a nice little point. And now we want to make the toe loop. So instead of 4 chains, we're going to chain 14. So that's 14 chains. Try not to spin your work around. We're going to slip stitch back into the top of that stitch. Again, I like to grab the sort of the front facing loop of the stitch and that little loop that's created when you chain away from it. Just slip stitch to join. There is our middle toe ring now. That is considered the top of our little triangle. So there's point number 1, decorative side. Point number 2, chain 14 loop for your middle toe. And now chain 4, and slip stitch into the next space between those sets of 5 double crochets. We are into a decorative side, so here we go. Chain 2, single crochet in the first double crochet you come to, chain 2, skip a stitch, single crochet in the next stitch, chain 2, skip a stitch, single crochet in the last stitch, chain 2, and slip stitch into the chain 3 space. So that's our second decorative side. We've got point number 1, decorative edge, point number 2 with our toe ring, decorative side, and now we're about to do our third and final point for our triangle. So this will be the third corner, I guess you could say. Third point, chain 4. We're going to work 5 double crochet stitches together across these 5 double crochets. So pick up a loop, yarn over, pull back through 2, pick up a loop, yarn over, back through 2, pick up a loop, yarn over, back through 2, pick up a loop, yarn over, back through 2, pick up a loop, yarn over, back through 2. That gives you 6 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull back through everything. And now we're making the second ring, the second loop for our ankle tie. So we're going to chain 4 and slip stitch into that little area. I like to grab that loop and that other little bit. You're just slip stitching back into the top to create a second loop that is for the tie that goes around your ankle. And now we want to do one more decorative edge. So to finish off that corner, we're going to chain 4, slip stitch into the chain 3 space, and here we go. Chain 2, single crochet in the first stitch, chain 2, skip a double crochet, single crochet in the next stitch, chain 2, skip a double crochet, single crochet in the next stitch, that'll be the last of that set, chain 2, and slip stitch into the middle of that chain 3 space. I like to kind of anchor it somewhere near where I started the chaining. So if you want to grab the bottom of that slip stitch that you did to start the whole row, you can do that. So what you've got now is the toe ring. You've got a little chain 4 loop over here. Don't worry, it gets bigger. And a little chain 4 loop over here. Same thing, it'll get bigger. That is all of row 5. So we've turned it into a triangle. We've added our loops. Now you can fasten off and weave in your tail. I like to take my yarn needle and I start weaving that tail back down across. I want to get it into maybe some of these stitches down here, so I'm going to weave it down the edge of this stitch, and then I'm going to weave it back and forth across those 5, there we go, these 5 stitches down here. I'm going to weave it back through these. Maybe I will zip across some of these chains, but either way I want to go back and forth a few times through like a nice set of stitches. So I go all the way through that set, and then I back up and I go the same through the same stitches but in the other direction. And I'm assuming that this is going to get kind of wet at the beach, maybe sort of sandy. You're probably going to want to wash these. So I want to really take my time and make sure that I am weaving my tails in as neatly as I can, but also with the idea that they need to be snugly fastened in place, because there's going to be a lot of activity with those tails. Mercerized cotton can be a little on the slippery side, so you want to ensure that those are really well woven in. And that way they're locked in place and they won't want to come undone. There we go. You can take a moment now to find the middle of that chain 4. I like to get my hook through it, but really once you run the tie through it and start using it, it'll open up a little bit. So the tighter or the smaller that little loop is, the better. And that is your little triangle. This goes over your middle toe. let's make the tie now that goes around the middle of our, or I should say it goes around our ankle and keeps this thing fastened to our foot. I made a tie that's about 25 inches or 64 centimeters long. That neatly goes around my ankle and then ties, but you can make these really long if you want to do that escadrille kind of multi-tie around the leg thing, or make it shorter if you just want to sort of loop it around the back and tie it once. It's entirely up to you. So I recommend that you start with the 25 inches or the 64 centimeter tie that I'm making. Try it on. And then if you feel like you need more, like don't cut your yarn, you can add some more chains if you want, or you can make it smaller. And then once you've settled on a number of chains, make your second tie exactly the same so that they're both identical. For me, with this hook and this thread, beginning with a little slip knot on my hook, I chained 140 in a nice relaxed manner. Try not to be too tight or too loose. 140 chains, and that works out to roughly 25 inches or 64 centimeters. I'll let you make a chained length that's as long as you feel you need to go around your ankle, or to tie those little things on in a manner that is comfortable and aesthetically pleasing. Once you've chained a 140 or the number of chains that you want, simply fasten off. You don't need very much end. Tug on it nice and tight. You want both ends to be a really nice tight knot. Then hold those ends together, sort of where the knots match up, and trim it. You don't need too long a tie. You can make the ties as long or as short as you want. And here's how you put the whole thing together. So you've got your middle toe loop up here. You want to take your tie, and I like to reach, so I'm looking at the right side of my little sandal. I reach through the middle with my crochet hook of that first loop, grab one end of my tie and pull it through. Then, again, looking at the right side, I put my hook through the middle of the other tie loop, grab the other end of the tie, and pull it through. There we go. Now that we've got it all tied on, let me show you how to put it on your foot. It's much easier to do this on a chair, but I'm going to try and film this and put it on my foot at the same time. I make the loop larger by pulling back on the two ties, and that part kind of goes, I put my foot through that space, and I pull it up over my ankle, get the little ties out of the way. Then you take that middle big toe ring, slip it over your second toe. I feel that ends up being kind of the middle of your foot. And then pull snug on those two ties, and you can wrap them around the back of your ankle and tie it back there, or if you made them extra long, you can kind of tie it around your ankle several times, sort of wrap them around and then tie them on the side, however you like to wear it. But I do like to stretch it out so that that triangle is really accentuated across the top of the foot. It really is the time of year for padding about barefoot. I love to be barefoot. I would rather be barefoot all the time. To be perfectly honest, wearing socks and shoes just feels constraining to me. And I love the option of a little bit of foot jewelry. That's how I feel these are. They're kind of like foot jewelry. They're neat, and if you're wearing a really long dress, then they kind of look pretty, kind of poking out from underneath them. And like I said, you can dress them up with pretty ribbons, you can add beads, you can make them fancy, you can put them in a different color if you want. You could even make the flower in a completely different color, and then the triangular bit in something else if you really want to highlight the flower. There's a lot of fun to be had with these little sandals, and if you are new to using thread or a really tiny size 1 crochet yarn, it's a fun, fast little project, and then you've got something pretty for your feet. And the nice thing is that these really are one size fits all, because the tie can be made to fit around any ankle, and you don't even have to chain the ties. If you want to use really pretty ribbons or something, then you can do that too. So it's a nice little thing for just about anybody. Adult size, I would say this is mostly teenagers and up, I suppose, could wear this. If you wanted to make them smaller for a little person foot, then you might just want to downsize your hook and use a thinner weight crochet thread. maybe crochet a little tighter. But it will mostly cover the foot, and then again you can just alter the size of the tie. And it can fit a smaller foot too. Lots of fun to be had with this pattern, which by the way is written up and in the Etsy shop and also in our bargain bin. It's a little lightweight project, a little lightweight for your pocketbook, it's lightweight for the summer, and it's light on your feet too. So link to our Etsy shop in the description box down below. Thank you so much for stitching along with me today, and we will see you soon here on the Jayda InStitches show. Until then, stay safe, stay crafty, have fun at the beach, and we'll see you soon. Bye guys!
Hi everybody, Mr. InStitches here. Thank you for watching today. Here are some of our other videos you might be interested in. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.